Hey guys, Chris here with Cohesive Friendship Unit. I'm here with Jeremy.
Yo, what is up?
And Brian.
What's going on?
And we're going to talk about some PUBG tonight. So,
No.
Really?
No, we're fucking talking PUBG, dude.
Oh,
the
wow.
people want to hear it.
But real quick,
People want
to hear it.
Real quick, any comments and likes help. We're doing a giveaway of a standard copy of Far Cry 5. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel. At 200 subs, we'll pick a random winner. There, we got all the bureaucracy out of the way. Let's get right into it. So PUBG launched a year ago.
Damn.
We're going to talk about that, but first we're going to talk about a little video that they showed. And that video had a few brief shots, probably like 15 seconds of footage of this new map, which is supposedly coming in April on the test server. So we've all seen the footage.
Yeah.
What do we think?
The 15 seconds of it.
Yep.
It's too colorful, dude. It's way too colorful. Neither of the maps that we have in the game right now are colorful.
So the water in Mexico is pretty colorful. But yeah.
I agree with Brian, but I don't think it'll end up looking
No,
like
it's
that way.
not finished. It's definitely...
Oh, yeah, it's not finished. I think, and Brendan Green mentioned this, I can't remember if it was the video or somewhere else, but he said, like, they are pushing this map in a much rougher state than the desert map. Like, he's trying to get it out as soon as possible onto the test server. So,
I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, I am
Yeah,
too.
map is...
As long as you're being upfront about it.
Yeah. And,
Yeah,
like,
it's nice to see what they're doing.
if the geometry's rough, the geometry's rough.
Yeah,
like,
I think people are more understanding of that if you're showing them what you're doing.
if the text...
And that's a quick turnaround.
That is, yeah, and I'm happy. Like, yeah, if he gives us the test servers and then, you know, the map at E3 or June, you know, that'd be totally fine with me. But I kind of like it. They showed one of the images was the new map itself, like not the concept art, but like the actual map with all the like basically what you would see when you push M in PUBG. You guys have looked at that, dude. I personally think it's an improvement. I was pretty skeptical at first of some of the choices, but now I really like the 3-island structure. There's a lot of bridges, which I really like. I like the way they're doing the water, because I think the desert doesn't do water well at all, because it's just around the perimeter. And I think
no, the desert one is different.
And I think the first map has better use of water, but I think water is something that could really be leveraged, and I think this map is leveraging that.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue with the way they do water so far, but I think that introducing water in this way in the new map, where you will much more frequently have to confront either crossing rivers or whatever.
Crossing, swimming, or boating.
Will introduce new gameplay elements that will make it kind of distinct. Because on the desert map, it frankly just isn't an issue. Like, it's not that it's not handled well, it just isn't on the map, realistically.
Yeah, and like well,
it's a desert.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, it's a different gameplay. Like, you don't do like coast hugging like we do in the what's the first one called? Erangel, yeah.
Yeah. But we like almost kind of, because at least I think we intentionally land on the islands when we can, just because it's kind of like
change of pace.
Yeah, it makes you think a little. But no, I think this water does a lot. Like on the first map, especially with that river cutting through the like second third of the map, where the circle's coming in and you kind of have to decide like what side of the river do I have to be on? Am I going to do that soon and get it out of the way, or am I going to wait the circle out and see what, you know?
Well,
base too.
It might be interesting to see what they do with the small map with regards to the 8-player squads thing that they did. How long ago was that? That was about a week ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
Because I think that would work much better with that size, because you're dealing with a smaller space. And I think when we were playing that 8-man squads thing, we were saying it's just too big. Like, you're not gonna run into anybody if you're on a smaller map where you're forced to, run into people. Essentially, that makes more sense. But I don't think that map's gonna work with 100 people. I still think it's too small.
Well, so what you're saying is, like, singles, everyone's an enemy, and you're gonna be equally spread out. And
right.
Like, as you increase your team count, you're going to clump more, and you're going to be, realistically, there's going to be more distance between your group and the other 12 groups.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I agree. I think this map will be good for that. I don't think it's too small. I'm still holding on to that.
For 100 people?
I do not think it's too small.
I mean...
I'm holding... It's half the size... Actually, no,
it's a quarter of the size. It's a quarter of the size, and an equal proportion of it is water. Because the whole outside, like that was a bad move. If you're gonna make a small map like that, you need to make the whole thing playable.
It's 2 military bases.
It's too small for 100 people. I mean, you remember that one time that we went to the military base and there was like 50 people that all... And that was like, oh shit.
So... I'm gonna maintain that point though, where the military base, a solid like the part that people actually land on is like a third of the military base. Actually, most of it is just like holes and shit that nobody lands in. But they funnel you there. If you spread it out and multiply it by 2, it's gonna be tight. But I don't think it's gonna be impossible.
I think it's from what the map looked like. It didn't look like it was. It looked like it was gonna be hot spots and then a lot of kind of nothing. So, there were little like shacks and stuff spread out over most of like I think the east side of the map, like the east central side of the map, but it looked like there were only a couple of places where you were going to get decent loot on that map on the whole thing.
So that is the other thing. I'm looking at it right now and there are like a few kind of hot spots, but none of them are even approaching like a traditional city. But you can definitely tell that they still have those like choke points. But I think when I saw the concept art, I was actually pretty worried about the distribution, and now I'm more. I think now that they're showing actual houses, I'm more comfortable with it.
I think I would be better with 100 people if they limited it to pistols and submachine guns, because getting distance like 4 kilometers. You can get to a point where you can kill someone from, like...
That's a good point.
An eighth of the way across the map. Like, 12% across the map or more. Which is ridiculous. And you limit it to, SMGs, you still have an automatic weapon, you still have a bunch of different classes of SMGs and stuff, but you don't have the rifles.
But at the same time...
Or you get like, if you got a drop, you'd get like a SCAR or something in it. Because with just submachine guns and pistols, that's a big step up.
But at the same time, on a smaller map, it's probably harder to go fuck off to some spot where no one's going to find you and just camp. You know what I mean? Like, if you're sitting there trying to be a lot of trying to headshot people from an eighth of the way across the map, there's a much higher likelihood, probably, that someone is going to be on your ass, too. And then if you do get a good spot, then everybody is that much closer to you. Right.
So they're an easier shots. They're easier to get the first time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think snipers might
ideally it needs some rebalancing. I think before they can put 100 people on a map that size.
And I think it'll work. It'll just be like it'll be a very different map. And I think that's the point. Like I think you'll have to play very differently. It'll be way more aggressive.
I have a kind of similar question about playing differently. We both all 3 of us agree that the 2 maps currently play extremely differently, just in the sense that
there's no trees on one.
There's no
trees on the other one.
Well, even beyond that, so on the first map, there's a lot of trees, and the hills are like smooth, I guess.
They're not
like you can drive a car pretty much anywhere. Like you don't have to follow the roads on the first map.
Right.
The second map,
you got a plan.
You got a plan, and you have to like play the slopes. You can't there's not a lot of trees. The rocks are fewer and far between, less useful. You have to play the slopes. Do you think?
I think the technical term is work the ridge.
Work the ridge.
I think you definitely hit. You're kind of confined to cities more actually in the second map, which was surprising. I expected on the desert maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I think that the additional cover in the first map and the ability to just drive more places, you're much more able in the first map to just kind of occasionally go to a house, chill by some trees, hug the coast, and you can get by. Whereas in the second map, you really do kind of have to go to the cities.
So my question is, with this map, is it going to be more of the first map, more of the second map, or a happy mixture of the two, or something completely new?
I think it's going to be like the cities in the second map, where it's just everybody. Because
there's trees in the footage, though.
There's trees, but there's so many people, and there's so few places that you can actually get good stuff. So you're going to have, instead of 40 people going to a city the size of, like, I don't know, what's the big one? Los Leones?
Los Leones, yeah.
You're going to have 40 people going to something that's the size of the school, which is, you know, it's a different aspect to it, but I think that a lot of people are going to get frustrated with that very fast.
It is. I actually just thought of this. It is kind of interesting that this is realistically, more often than not, you're probably going to be able to glide to anywhere on the map on any flight run.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to probably...
That's true.
Because you can usually glide a solid 1.5 kilometers if you play your cards right.
Yeah. So unless it was really way out there on one side, you'd be able to get
You're
pretty
probably going to be able to hit almost anywhere you want in every game.
I think there's some chance that since the cities seem the smallest on this new map, and since there does seem to be significant cover... I could definitely see it going the way that Brian described. I could also see it going the exact opposite and being the game least involved with the cities because they're smaller, so there's just inherently less loot to be had. The risk is higher because there are fewer cities and it's less space within the cities. And if there's cover, and the incentive is also less because of both of those things. So if there's a lot of cover elsewhere, maybe it'll be, and it's a smaller map where you're more likely to bump into people, maybe like finding defensible positions early on is going to be more important.
What I was saying is that it'd be, in terms of the play experience, it would be more like going to a city on the Mexico map, where it's a lot of people.
Well, I think the whole game overall is going to be more like that. That's just going to be the whole game.
Right, so pretty much anything that has any good aspect to it or, like, kind of gets good loot is going to be known pretty quickly and, like, camped.
Possible.
It's
a possibility. It could end up being such that, like, there are 5 or 6 places that have good loot. 60 of 100 people drop to those 5 places.
How many places?
The vast majority of them get slaughtered, and then the people who land in those places and survive are like...
Realistically, how many places do we actually drop on either of the 2 maps?
Probably have like
5 or 6.
5 or 6 per.
Yeah. So...
But that's what I'm saying. I think that each individual location might be less valuable in the new map because the cities are smaller. So
no, each individual location is more valuable because there's less space.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I could see it going either way. I don't know which way the meta is going to develop.
So if you guys just looking at the...
But I think it will be different. I don't think it'll be similar to either of the existing 2. I think it'll be pretty different.
Now that we've moved past the concept art, if you guys could pick one thing about this map that you would maybe change, because there's a very real possibility this map gets changed. The first map has been changed. They added a city in it.
Yep.
Oh, really?
They added and there was another thing that they tweaked at the same time.
They've tweaked a few things with the first map. What would you change, if anything? I would personally, like Brian said, the water around the perimeter, I would add either 2 smallish islands, like one on like the west coast and one on like the east coast, one south, one north, or I would do like a little, not super small archipelago, but like a cluster of smallish islands just dotting that water area.
That would actually be
so
cool.
When you're boating, you actually have to kind of pay attention a little. When you're driving, people could camp the smaller islands for boats, and then obviously there's more space to like play. But that's what I would do.
I like that. I was gonna say that I wanted them to just kind of unify the aesthetic a little bit because it looked like they had palm trees and pine trees.
That could
so
be
like
an
just kind
thing.
of but that's that all we've really seen is the footage, the just images, the superficial element, and the map itself. But I actually like what you said way more. I think that could be a really interesting kind of idea.
So either go with what you said, which is what I said.
Kind of. You said that you didn't like the water going.
Yeah, like the
like half the map is in.
There needs to be more playable space,
yeah.
Or go all the way and make the map primarily water with a bunch of small islands that are like swimmable distance. I mean, that's like a complete 180 at this point.
They would redo the map,
right?
Yeah,
might be the 4th map.
You're gonna have to.
Map's already confirmed.
Well, they changed the
big map.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They changed the map size by 400%. Like, they need to be thinking about making some changes to how the way the game actually plays out on that map, because it changes. It does change when you're going from 8x8 to 4x4. You're not running as much, but there's also not as much of that strategy element because things just happen faster.
Yeah. And, I mean, Yeah. Well, any final thoughts or
final thoughts? Well, I'd just like to remind you guys to crush that motherfucking like button if you don't mind. And like Chris said at the beginning of this video, we are giving away a copy of Far Cry 5 for one of our subscribers. So if you're potentially interested in getting a copy of Far Cry 5, or you would like to get a copy of Far Cry 5 from us, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button, and it goes hand in hand with that. Click the ringy dingy on the right corner of the top right corner of your screen there, so that you get notified of all of our latest shenanigans, I guess you could say. Whenever we post a video, you'll be sure to know if you click that little guy. So that's all I've got.
Hey guys, Brian said it all. Let us know what you think of the new PUBG map. We are super excited to check it out in April. We'll obviously be covering that. And have a good night. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Boom. Boom.
Dude, but what if they watch it while they're eating lunch?